I never imagined my cute reports could spark a heart-stopping federal raid that changed everything. I will never forget that day. The air was thick with tension, like the silence before a storm. My heart raced. I sat at my computer, staring at the screen. The cursor blinked, an impatient reminder of the chaos brewing just beneath the surface. My reports were meant to be playful, light, filled with quirky facts about cute animals. Who didn't love puppies wearing little hats? But then, a peculiar pointer emerged. A missing pet scandal tangled with strange disappearances. I dug deeper. The colors flew across my screen, bright and colorful, yet ominous in their implications. My fingers trembled as I typed, each letter sending chills down my spine. Something was off. The photos I found were haunting: a fluffy golden retriever wide-eyed in fear, a tabby cat lurking in shadows. The deeper I dove, the more bizarre connections I unearthed. Suddenly, I heard a commotion outside my window. Sirens. Shouting. My heart sank. A throbbing pulse in my temples. I stepped outside. The street stood alive with movement. Crowds gathered, eyes wide with disbelief. The agents in black suits swarmed the theater of my life, faces concealed behind dark glasses. They shouted, demanding answers, cornering me as if I were the very source of the chaos. Where is it? Where is the data? One of them barked, his eyes piercing mine. Panic clawed at my gut. What data? They looked through my reports, my innocent words transformed into something sinister. Their shadows loomed, and I suddenly felt like a pawn caught in a dangerous game. It all spun in a dizzying whirlwind. My friends stood behind me, confusion mixed with fear etched on their faces. Thomas, my best friend, grabbed my arm. You didn't know, did you? His voice trembled. I shook my head. I was lost in this storm. The truth hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Then, it hit me: what if the cute little stories I shared had touched something much darker? Had I been a part of something beyond my understanding, something that went far beyond the simplicity of cuteness? My breaths quickened, each inhale a reminder of the impending chaos. Just as the agents closed in, a piercing shriek erupted from the crowd. It's him. He's the one. I turned to see a woman pointing at me, her face twisted with panic. Her screams cut through the air, filling the void. Who? Who is he? I gasped, my voice barely a whisper over the roar of uncertainty. Fear gripped me as the realization sank in. I was just a casual observer, and yet here I was, thrust into a world where my innocent curiosity may have ignited a firestorm. The agents were closing in, hands reaching for me. My pulse thundered in my ears. Everything was falling apart. I was about to unravel the truth, but did I even want to know what lay beneath? I never imagined my world would twist like this, caught in a web of federal intrigue and mystery. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The agents lunged forward, their intentions as sharp as the suits they wore. I instinctively took a step back, my mind racing. This was surreal. One moment, I had been writing about fluffy puppies and their antics, and in another, I was the target of a ferocious storm, where innocence was a mere ghost and fear thrived. Do you really think any of this is cute? One of the agents scoffed, shaking my reports in my face. I wanted to scream that it was all intended to spread joy, but the words tangled in my throat. Each word and picture now felt like a sinister invitation to something I hadn't been ready to understand. My gaze swept across the gathering crowd, faces contorted in worry and confusion. Thomas, still clutching my arm, shouted, "You don't have to answer anything. Just walk away." His voice cracked, and I could see the fear mirrored in his eyes. I wanted to grab his hand and flee, but the reality of the situation forced me to stand there, rooted in place. The pointing woman, still unwavering, intensified the spotlight upon me as she tried to explain. He's connected. I saw him. Her claim started a ripple of whispers and gasps among the onlookers. How had I become connectable? My life had turned into a tangle of incredulous accusations. I never wanted to be the center of anything but laughter and light. Suddenly, a familiar face emerged from the crowd, the kind, gentle face of my neighbor Mrs. Clements, who had always brought me freshly baked cookies on Saturday afternoons. Her voice cut through the chaos, soothing like the warm aroma of chocolate chip dough. She's no threat. She just loves animals. Her resolve sparked a flicker of warmth as she moved towards me, welling with an unexpected kindness amidst the hostility, but the moment was fleeting. One agent stepped forward and barked, "Stand back, ma'am. We need to question her." The weight of the situation pressed heavily around us, suffocating. Mrs. Clements hesitated but remained beside me, her presence a fragile shield against the swell of confusion and dread. In a whirl of confusion, I wondered how this had spiraled so far so quickly. Was it my doing? Had the data I uncovered somehow pointed to something bigger? Every cute fact felt like a loaded gun, ready to fire upon my question. I felt adrift in a sea of shock and desperation, my mind racing toward explanations that eluded me. The crowd was no longer just curious, they observed me, some whispering, some pointing. Doubt crept in like an unwelcome fog. What if I am actually a part of this? I thought, heart pounding with each breath. What if my innocent stories were the very treasure map that led them to something terrible? Moments turned into an eternity. As I stood there, watching the agents sift through my work, a man emerged from behind the throng. He was older, his hair peppered with gray, and he moved with an air of confidence that intrigued me. Without a word, he approached, making his way to Mrs. Clements and me. "Excuse me, officers," he called out, his voice even and steady. "I'd like a moment with her." His intervention surprised everyone, including the agents, who hesitated before allowing him a moment. I could feel the weight of curiosity burdening the crowd as they waited for whatever was to unfold. "Listen to me," he whispered as he leaned in close, his voice barely above the escalating noise. "You have to trust me. I know what you're caught in. It's bigger than you think, and you shouldn't say anything until you know the full extent of what's going on." My heart skipped. Was this man my salvation or yet another layer in the web of disarray? I searched his eyes for any signal of truth, clinging to the hope of understanding, but just as I was about to respond, I caught a glint of something in his pocket. An emblem. A badge? Panic gripped my throat. Was he one of them? Before I could ponder further, the agents turned their attention back to us, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. The lead agent stepped closer, leaving no room for ambiguity. "Ma'am, we need to take you in," he said, imposing and absolute. The crowd gasped. Collectively, fear lacing through their murmurs. I took a step backward, my chest tightening with the weight of the unexpected revelation hanging in the air. "Wait." I blurted out, realization crashing into me like a wave. In that moment, I grasped the enormity of my situation. Innocence had no place here. Before the truth could escape my lips, everything spun, and a clearer understanding of the intricate threads began to unravel. But was I willing to risk it all for clarity? The choice teetered on the edge of my confusion, and then, from deep within the throng of murmurs, a strange voice rose. "They're coming!" It screamed, wild with urgency. The world turned sharply, and my heart dropped as the horizon of my understanding shifted yet again. The agents weren't just after me. Something darker loomed just beyond the veil, and I was caught at the center of it, a heartbeat in a chaos far greater than I had ever imagined. The crowd's anxious energy reverberated through the air, thick with tension as the unexpected announcement hung like fog in our collective breath. "They're coming!" The voice echoed, unmistakable in its dread, and a new wave of chaos swelled as people shifted nervously, eyes darting toward the shadows that danced beyond the periphery of light. My heart raced, each beat a desperate plea for clarity. Before I could process the implications of those words, agents leaped into action, their demeanor shifting into something more feral. They began fanning out, eyes scanning the horizon with predatory focus. I found myself still frozen, a part of me unwilling to break the fragile shell of hope Mrs. Clements and that older man had offered. Clarity was a mirage, teasingly close but ever elusive. "Get down!" shouted one agent, pushing the throng of onlookers aside as chaos erupted. In that instant, a palpable electricity crackled in the air. The harmonious joy encapsulated in my papers took on a new weight. My innocent writings had become an invisible snare, connecting me to something monstrous. "Follow me!" yelled the older man, gripping my arm with a fierce urgency, his grip grounding me in the sea of uncertainty. I stumbled alongside him, the dull thud of my shoes echoing against the concrete as he led me away from the chaos. "Who are you?" I gasped, struggling to keep pace. My heart was a wild drum in my chest, but part of me latched onto this glimmer of safety. "My name is Adam," he replied, voice steady but his breath heavy from exertion. "I've been monitoring what you've published. It's bigger than a simple report, it's a signal." "A signal?" I echoed, confusion mingling with fear. "What do you mean?" But before he could respond, a distant rumble caught my attention. A vehicle, and not just any vehicle. The deep growl of an unmarked van barreled down the street, dark and ominous, every ounce of my instinct screaming that it bore nothing good. "Quick! This way!" Adam urged, pulling me down an alley. Shadows loomed like sentinels as we ducked behind a dumpster, the stench of refuse and decay clouding my senses. I pressed my back against the cold metal, heart hammering against the confines of my ribs. "Why me?" I whispered, my voice trembling, quaking with a swell of raw desperation. "What did I do?" Adam's eyes softened for a moment. "You stumbled onto something that shouldn't have been unearthed. Your work, your innocence, it accidentally drew too much attention. At that moment, the world felt unbearably heavy. Innocence was a naive illusion in this cruel reality. What do I do now? How can I fix this?" His gaze intensified, and in it, I saw not only concern but purpose. "You need to understand the depth of what you've uncovered. They want to silence these findings, and it's crucial that you don't let them. You hold the key, whether you realize it or not." The feeling of dread coiled within me as I registered the enormity of his revelation. The thought of my playful words morphing into a catalyst for danger felt incomprehensible. Suddenly, the heavy thud of boots echoed close by, drawing my attention toward the alley's entrance. Two agents stood there, bulging shadows against the backdrop of the deepening twilight. "There's no use hiding, we know you're here," one of them barked, scanning the vicinity with a predatory gaze. My breath caught in my throat, the weight of their intent pressing down on me like a vice. Adam's grip tightened on my arm, urgency imbued with fear. "We have to move now." Just as we turned to make our escape, a voice broke through the murmur of feigned calm. "You're not going anywhere." A younger agent, no longer cloaked by his superiors, dashed toward us, eyes alight with conviction. "Stop!" I shouted instinctively, heart racing. "What are you doing?" He paused, momentarily taken aback by my outburst. "I don't want to hurt anyone," he panted, as if he had just run a marathon. "But you need to come with us if you're going to be safe." "What do you mean? Who are you?" I pressed, my voice rising in panic. "I'm not like the others." He glanced over his shoulder, the fear in his eyes matching the frantic rhythm of my heart. "They're not just after you. They're losing control, and it's only getting worse. You don't understand the full scope of the danger." The new fear washed over me, tangling with confusion. "But I thought they were here to help," I whispered, bewildered. "Help isn't what those agents do anymore," he corrected sharply, eyes darting back toward the encroaching agents. "They'll stop at nothing to protect their secrets." With each word, the fragile threads that tethered my reality began to fray. I faced a crossroads: stay or go, fight or surrender. But in this moment, hope flickered within the chaos, a whisper urging me forward. And just as I began to process Adam's and the young agent's words, a piercing wail splintered the night, a hair-raising siren, its origins inevitably drawing closer. My heart sank. This was more than a mere raid. "Go! Now!" Adam shouted, pushing us into a narrow passage. I looked back, torn, only to find the young agent's fervor igniting a spark of desperation. In that split second, it all collided: fear, confusion, and a strange thread of hope. "They'll find you," I yelled, a promise binding me to the uncertainty as I dove deeper into the shadows, propelled forward by the unanswered questions that swirled in my mind. Somewhere ahead, light beckoned, a beacon fraught with both danger and possibility. I had been swept into a storm, and somewhere in this chaos might lie the very truth that could unravel everything. But would I emerge stronger, or would I get lost forever in the maze of deceit that enveloped me? I could sense the weight of uncertainty clinging to my skin as I plunged deeper into the dark passage. The wail of the sirens pierced the air, mingling with the adrenaline coursing through my veins, driving me forward. Light flickered in the distance, a harsh contrast to the embrace of shadow, but I couldn't stand still, not now. Adam's firm grip had receded, yet I could feel his presence, an anchoring thought propelling me onward as I edged away from everything familiar. Adrenaline surged through me, but the heavy dread of what I had unwittingly ignited settled like a lead blanket across my shoulders. What had I done? What revelations did my innocent words hold that could be weaponized against me? Emerging from the narrow corridor, I found myself in a small, dimly lit alley, littered with remnants of an old city. A flickering bulb dangled from above, casting ghostly shadows on the cracked pavement. I paused, catching my breath and allowing my surroundings to ground me momentarily. Faded graffiti adorned the walls, telling stories of people who had fought their own battles within these grim confines, and finding strength through voices long forgotten. I took a deep breath, summoning the courage to step into the unknown. As I ventured further, a flicker of movement caught my eye. A figure stood against the far wall, hidden in the shadows. I squinted, heart racing, desperately hoping it wasn't one of the agents. "Are you hurt?" A voice emerged from the darkness, laced with cautious concern. "And no," I stuttered, almost surprised by my response. "Just confused." The figure stepped forward, revealing a face marked by age and resilience. It was a woman, maybe in her late 60s, with silver hair pulled back tightly into a bun and warm, understanding eyes. Her presence felt soothing, and oddly comforting amidst the chaos that surrounded me. "I can help you," she said, her voice steady but low enough to be nearly swallowed by the growing noise of approaching footsteps. "You're in danger, but there's something you need to know first." "What do you know?" I shot back, desperation leaking through. "Can't you see I'm already drowning in uncertainty?" She sighed, the weight of life evident in her posture. "They've marked you, child. Not for just the content of your writing, but for the truth you have illuminated. It's a truth buried deep, one that desperately needs to be revealed. But they'll hunt you down and extinguish that flame if they can." Each word landed like a hammer on my heart, relentless and unyielding. I had stumbled upon something meaningful beyond what I could comprehend. "But I didn't mean to, I know," she interrupted gently, her eyes softening. "No one ever intends to ignite such fires. But once the truth is exposed, it can never be concealed again. It's a gift and a burden. You must learn to navigate both." An unexpected surge of hope flickered inside me, illuminating the darkness that threatened to engulf my resolve. It was a heavy burden, yes, but there had to be a way to wield it responsibly. "I am terrified," I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know what to do." "You start by shifting the narrative," she advised, moving imperceptibly closer. "Your voice is powerful, don't let it fade. We must find shelter until it's safe to act. There are those out there who would join your cause, but you need to regroup first." I nodded, determination slowly intertwining with the question that gnawed at me like a persistent itch. Who was this woman, and how did she know so much? But no more was shared as an echo of hurried footsteps drew near, urgent and relentless. "We don't have time," the woman urged, taking my arm into her steady embrace. "Follow me. There's an underground network, safe houses all over the city. They can protect you." As we hurried down another alley, the sound of shouting grew distant, mingled with the wailing sirens that threatened to drown my very existence. There was an electrifying thrill in the air, a sensation that perhaps I wasn't as isolated as I believed. Just then, a sharp cough broke through the quiet heartbeats of our escape, reverberating against the brick walls as I turned instinctively. I saw a figure emerge from a shadowed doorway a few feet ahead. My heart stuttered. "Adam." My mind raced back to the chaos that had separated us. Stop! He shouted, eyes wide with urgency as he darted toward us, only for a moment before being encapsulated in darkness again. Adam! I yelled, propelled by instinct. I thought you, but before I could finish, a sudden explosion of light surged toward us, blinding for a single heartbreaking instant. The world trembled as men's voices rose in furious commands, as the shadows closed in from all sides. As the chaos erupted around me, the woman's hand tightened around mine, her grip steadying my wild heart. Stick close! She shouted above the noise. Trust no one but me. And then, just as swiftly as it began, the lights dimmed, and a cacophony of confusion ensued. A split-second decision carved into the fabric of my life. Who would I follow? Adam, the beacon of hope I barely knew, or this stranger who had just drawn me into a web spun of fear and resistance? Panic pulsed through me. As I turned, shadows enveloped Adam's figure in the chaos, and the unknown woman's grip on my arm tightened. The weight of the world pressed down, leaving me teetering on the edge of an abyss with no visible path to safety. Go! I screamed, voice raw. But would I find solace, clarity, or something far more insidious amid the uncertainty? The alley erupted into a cacophony of sound, voices amplified by sheer panic, shadows weaving a tapestry of danger against the brick walls. I stood, paralyzed, heart racing between two paths, the stranger with her unwavering grip and Adam, whose silhouette flickered in my mind like embers caught in a gust of wind. The decision felt weighty, yet instinctively, I felt drawn to the woman, to the promise of survival. Follow me! She shouted, yanking me forward, her urgency leaving little room for hesitation. The world outside was collapsing into chaos, yet within this moment, I found an odd comfort in her determination. We dashed through the alleys, her presence a steadfast anchor against the tempest of uncertainty swirling around us. The sharp corners and damp brick walls seemed to pulse, alive with the whispers of desperation echoing off the surfaces. Lost voices faded into background noise, replaced by the sound of heavy boots and the echoes of commands barking in the distance. After what felt like a lifetime of dodging fixtures of the city's underbelly, we found ourselves at the mouth of a decrepit warehouse. Gaping holes in the roof revealed fragments of encroaching twilight, but inside, everything was compressed by shadows. The woman hesitated for a brief moment at the threshold, her brow furrowing as if she sensed something, that lingering feeling that we were not as alone as we might have hoped. Stay close, she repeated, leading me inside. The air was thick with dust, and silence loomed like a beast waiting for the right moment to pounce. We advanced carefully, footsteps muted against the cracked concrete. My mind raced with thoughts of Adam. Where was he? Was he safe? Did he think I had abandoned him? The internal conflict clawed at my consciousness, a constant reminder that our fates were intertwined. As my eyes adjusted to the dimness, I caught sight of several figures emerging from hidden corners. They were all dressed in dark, nondescript clothing, a slew of faces mixed with grim determination and quiet anxiety. I looked at the woman beside me, her gaze steady as it scanned the group. They can help you, she assured me, guiding me forward as murmurs of conversation faded into a tense silence, all eyes turning to me. I felt the weight of their scrutiny, the burden of my truth hanging in the air. What do you need me to do? I asked, my voice shaky but resolute. One of the figures stepped forward, a man with tousled hair and kind eyes that no longer bore the innocence of youth. He crossed his arms as though preparing for a confrontation. You've sparked something in this city. Others out there have begun to hear your voice. But we need to know, are you ready to stand with us? I felt the ground shift beneath me. Ready? I hadn't even fully grasped what I had unleashed. I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wrote what I saw. That's exactly why we need you, the man interrupted, his face earnest. Your reports have driven the feds into a frenzy. They know you're onto something, and they'll do everything to silence you before you can spread your truth any wider. A wave of fear washed over me. I had never intended for my words to bear such consequence, yet now they were a lifeline for others. I took a breath, struggling to ground myself. What if I can't? What if I'm not strong enough? The oldest member of the group, a woman with wild gray hair and fierce eyes, stepped forward. Strength is not a measure of one's ability to fight, it sometimes lies in the courage to continue to speak, even when your voice trembles. Hope flickered, fragile yet resilient in the reconvened darkness, but it made me wonder, was I a beacon for change or merely the spark that lit the fuse of chaos? Just then, a loud crash echoed from a nearby door. Grating metal shrieked against concrete, a signal cutting through my ruminations. The shadows grew sharper, filled with a tension that hung thick in the air. The woman from the alley turned toward the sound, alarm etched across her features. "Secure the exits!" she shouted, her demeanor shifting from comforting to commanding. "They've found us." Fear crystallized, darting through my veins like ice as the sound of heavy boots approached. I could hear the shouts from outside, agents crunching through the debris of our hiding place. They were inches away from discovering our sanctuary. In that heart-stopping moment, the camaraderie of faces faded and time seemed to slow. Panic settled over me as I realized my choice was about to become irrevocable. Would I take the mantle of this resistance, thrust into a battle I barely understood? Or would I shatter under the weight of the truth pulsing through me? As my instincts flared and adrenaline surged within, my heart whispered the only truth I could hold on to: this was not the end of my journey. I was already in too deep, and to retreat was to relinquish everything I had just begun to uncover. Right then, as the figures around me readied themselves for the onslaught, the door jerked open with a menacing creak, and a familiar voice pierced through the chaos. "Stop. You can't just go barging in here." It was Adam, desperation and resolve mingling in his tone. But his arrival unfolded a new wave of confusion. Did he come to rescue me or expose what I had become? Every eye turned to him, and time hung in the air like a fragile thread waiting to snap. Would I embrace the uncertain ally before me, or align with the overwhelming tide of opposition rushing through the threshold? The air in the warehouse felt electric as all eyes turned toward Adam. Recognition washed over me, a blend of yearning and fear choking my breath. He stood there, frozen in the doorway, the sharp outline of his figure barely visible against the fading light. His presence was a contradiction, a comfort amid a storm of chaos. But beneath that facade of relief lay uncertainty, a looming question I dreaded to face: could he accept this new version of me? Before I could open my mouth to scream for him to run, the woman from the alley stepped forward, blocking him with a determined stance. "You shouldn't have come here, Adam. It's not safe, neither is it for you." He snapped back, his voice slicing through the tension. I heard the commotion. I couldn't just leave. He softened his tone, eyes darting from me to the gathered crowd. "What's going on?" I wanted to shout, to explain everything, but the words tangled in my throat. A cacophony of emotions: fear, anger, love swirled within me, pulling me in conflicting directions. Adam had always seen me as someone who spun stories and conveyed truths, not a person at the center of a battle. "They're coming, and we're outnumbered," the man with the kind eyes warned, tension radiating from him as he turned to assess our surroundings. "Who are they?" Adam demanded, confusion swimming in his gaze as he looked back at me. "What have you gotten involved in?" I hesitated, knowing that admitting the truth would shatter the precarious peace we had established. "Two didn't mean for it to escalate like this," I finally stammered, guilt surfacing under the weight of my choices. "The moment you started exposing the corruption, it was bound to escalate," Adam bit back, the urgency in his voice laced with concern for my well-being. "You're in over your head. Why didn't you tell me?" I could have helped. In that moment, the world around us blurred like a forgotten dream. Here I stood, caught between the man I loved and a strange new reality that held the possibility for change, but at a price I didn't fully understand. "I didn't want to drag you into this," I shouted, the fear spilling over. "I didn't want you to be part of something dangerous." "Dangerous?" His laugh was bitter and edged with frustration. "You think I'd have stayed on the sidelines? With everything happening, I wanted to be here. I thought you'd feel the same." The warehouse doors shuddered under the impact of heavy kicks from the outside. My heart raced as dread curled in my stomach. Time was running out. "Enough." The old woman stepped between us, her fierce eyes like embers in the dark. "We don't have time to argue. The feds are closing in. Adam, there's no turning back now. We need your help." Adam glanced between her and me, uncertainty flickering in his gaze. "Help with what?" "The moment you came in, you put us all at risk," she said, her voice steady yet laced with urgency. But you also brought something they didn't anticipate. Your presence can bolster our cause, but only if you step into the fire with us. I felt the walls closing in, the pressure mounting. This was not how I envisioned our reunion. My fear for Adam's safety mingled with my rising sense of responsibility toward the group. Desperation roiled in my veins, urging me to act. Please, I said, taking a step forward, reaching for him. You need to understand what this means. You're not just a bystander. You can help shape this. He hesitated, brow furrowing as he wrestled with the storm of emotions brewing within him. But at what cost? The sound of advancing footsteps drew nearer, the oppressive weight of impending doom suffocating us. I pushed past the uncertainty gnashing at my heart. The cost has already been set for us. We have to make a choice. Will we fight or will we let them take everything? As if on cue, the warehouse doors gave way, crashing open to reveal silhouettes sprawled against the light of the street beyond. The flood of agents surged forth, weapons raised, shouts piercing the tension like shards of glass. Now! The woman shouted, as the kind-eyed man hustled us toward a back exit. This way. In the seconds that followed, adrenaline surged, propelling me forward as my heart pounded in unison with the footsteps behind us. I grabbed Adam's hand, squeezing it tight. Stay close, I urged, trying to convey all my hopes and fears in that small gesture, but as we ducked toward the rear of the warehouse, my breath hitched in my throat, my gaze wandering back to the entrance where a familiar figure lurked, one I had long believed to be lost. Adam's face mirrored my shock, our shared recognition choking the air out of my lungs. It was someone I never expected to see again, someone who had the power to change everything, my estranged brother, Ryan. In that heartbeat, the lines between love and betrayal blurred, and with it, the very foundation of my world trembled as the realization washed over me. How had he found me, and what was he willing to do for a family that had long been torn apart? With the chaos spilling in from the entrance and my brother's silhouette casting a heavy shadow over us, the world folded in on itself. Memories of late-night talks and shared secrets crashed into the present, where loyalty and betrayal intertwined like a vice squeezing my chest. Seconds felt like hours as I stared, trying to reconcile the young boy I had known with the man standing before me now. Ryan? I breathed, half in disbelief, half in hope. The name hung in the air, a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters, and for a moment, everything around us blurred with uncertainty. Leah. His voice broke through the cacophony, a desperate plea laced with urgency. You have to come with me. It's not safe here. Before I could answer, the agents surged further into the building, and the old woman's commanding shout snapped me back to the impending danger. We don't have time for this. We need to go, now. Adam tugged at my arm, fear flashing in his eyes. What do we do? We can't just leave. He's your brother, Ryan, I said, holding my hand up, trying to steady my racing heart. What are you doing here? How did you find me? Don't worry about that now. He stepped closer, voice laced with urgency. I'll explain everything later. Just trust me. But trust was a fragile thing, one that had been shattered and rebuilt more times than I could count. As the agent's calls grew louder, an unsettling weight settled in my stomach. There was something he wasn't telling me, a reason why he was here, and that hint of familiarity only clouded my judgment. Then there was Adam, standing beside me, tense and alert. He could be leading us into a trap. Leah, he protested, brow furrowing as he grasped the situation weighing heavily on his shoulders. You can't just go with him. For a brief moment, I felt the impossibility of my choices, the brother I thought lost for good and the man who had tried to pull me back from the edge of a storm. I squeezed Adam's hand, fighting back the swell of despair rising in my chest. If I chose one, would I lose the other? The warehouse reverberated with a loud crash as the agents kicked open another door, echoing the reality lurking just beyond our makeshift sanctuary. My mind raced, time was slipping through my fingers faster than I could grasp it. I can help you, Leah, Ryan pressed, desperation brightening his eyes. They've been looking for you. I know things you don't. What things? I challenged, refusing to be swept away by misguided trust. Things about my life or things about why you're really here. I'm not playing games. He sounded raw, the panic rising alongside the urgency. I'm trying to save you. You need to see the bigger picture. I've kept tabs on everything happening since you left home. Left home? The words cut deep, a painful reminder of the past I had chosen to forget. I looked over at Adam, whose expression mirrored my own turmoil. The fear that perhaps I had harbored for so long was finally rearing its head. I was torn between the love for my brother and the painful reality of what we had lost. Suddenly, another loud bang echoed through the warehouse as lights swept past us, searching, hunting. "We don't have time," the old woman shouted again. "Do you choose safety, or do you risk it all for the unknown? Leah, please," Ryan shouted, reaching out as if he could grab hold of the past and pull me back to him. "I came for you. Whatever happened between us, we can figure that out later. Just trust me." "How can I trust you?" I hissed, my throat tight with emotion. "You disappeared on us. You chose distance when I needed you most." Behind us, the kind-eyed man's voice interjected, calming yet firm. "We need to make a decision now. Who will you trust, Leah? You can't keep hesitating while time runs out. Each moment is an opening for them to pin us down." With a heavy heart, I glanced between the two men in my life, one a fabric of my childhood woven with heartbreak and longing, the other a beacon of hope in darkness. "What are you not telling me?" I pressed Ryan, every muscle in my body tense, edging towards a revelation, but just as he opened his mouth to respond, the ground shook as a loud explosion erupted from the front of the warehouse, the wall collapsing like a rush of sand through an hourglass. Dust and debris flew everywhere, and my heart lurched in horror as panic engulfed the space. In that instant of chaos, the world splintered. Adam pulled me close, shielding me, while Ryan pleaded with urgency in his piercing gaze. "Leah, come with me. Trust me. I can save you." I glanced back at Adam, desperate for a sign, for a word, anything to steady my swirling thoughts. But all I found was a velvet curtain of fear barricading his expression. The moment felt heavy, a decision teetering on the knife's edge as the stakes rose higher, the consequence rippling across everything I had loved and lost. Exiting through the crumbling path now laid before us, my breath quickened in preparation, but which way would I choose? Each heartbeat sounded like thunder in my ears as I faced the reality that lay ahead, knowing full well that the path I chose would not only affect my future but those I cared for. And just as I took a step forward, an unexpected shout rang out from the fractured entrance, halting my breath in my throat once more. "Let them through, we'll handle this." The voice sent shockwaves through the crowd, and every inch of my body froze as I stared at the unfamiliar figure silhouetted in the dust. A new player in a game that had already begun, and with it, an unexpected alliance that teetered dangerously close to unraveling everything I thought I knew. The dust settled slowly, creating a muted haze as I strained to take in the figure before us. My heart raced, confusion joining the chaos swirling inside me. "Who are you?" I managed to whisper, though it felt more like a prayer than a question. The figure stepped closer, each movement deliberate, revealing a silhouette I couldn't place. But in the next moment, the haze cleared with a flash of recognition, and my breath caught as I processed the warm features that were both strange and familiar. It was Nico, a friend from years past, a fixture in my history who had long since drifted into the shadows of my memory. "Leah," he replied, his voice low and steady, as if he somehow contained the weight of the world inside him. "I had to come. I've been keeping track of everything. You don't have to be afraid." His eyes locked onto mine, an anchor in the storm raging around us, but doubt crept in, twisting my gut. Why are you involved in this?" Before Nico could respond, adrenaline surged once more as Ryan's urgency broke through. "This is not the time for a reunion. We can't stay here." A deafening roar filled the warehouse as agents pushed further in, their shouts reverberating off the walls like crashing waves. In that moment, desperation flickered in my chest, igniting a drive I didn't know I still possessed. "Why should I trust any of you?" I found myself asking, my voice rising over the din. "You all have secrets. What's your agenda?" Nico stepped forward, a protective measure against the growing tempest. "I'm here for you. I swear it, Leah. And I brought intel that will help. But you have to act quickly, this place isn't going to hold much longer." I wanted to believe him, I wanted to grasp at the hope he provided. But the shadows of betrayal stretched over shattering memories of secrets kept and ties severed. The past felt alive and ready to claw at my heart. Leah. Adam's voice sliced through the tension, and I turned to him, his fear palpable. If we don't move, we'll end up trapped. We need a plan. Do you trust him? I asked Adam, my voice a tremor. He hesitated, his eyes darting between Ryan and Nico. Doubt scrawled across his face, and it angered me. Couldn't he see that I needed him to make a choice, too? Do you trust Ryan? Adam shot back. How can we choose the right path when none of us know the truth? With panic surging, I grasped the two polarities of my life, torn between the brother I had lost and the friend I hadn't fully recognized until now. The weight of their choices dangled above me, an uncertainty I couldn't shake off. Leah, the clock is ticking, Ryan urged, his desperation palpable. Whatever happened between us, it doesn't matter now. You need to remember that we have a chance to escape together. But the voice of reason echoed in my mind, the stark reminder that alliances often meant betrayal in disguise. What do you know? I pressed my eyes back to Nico, demanding clarity from the familiar stranger. What are you hiding? Everything, he said, voice steady. I can't say it all now, but I know why they're after you. They're looking for something bigger than you could imagine. Bigger than I could imagine. I swallowed hard, the weight of those words brewing tangled emotions. What do you mean? Nico opened his mouth to respond, but a sudden explosion behind him sent chunks of concrete raining down, sending all of us instinctively tumbling to the ground. The world erupted in chaos as another wave of agents stormed in. Groans of pain collided with the sirens blaring outside. Among the panic, I caught a glimpse of solidarity as Ryan crouched beside me, his body a shield from the flying debris. We need to go. Adam yelled, gripping my arm tightly, but every instinct in me recoiled at the thought of leaving without answers. The revelations were hanging just out of reach, and I couldn't bear to turn my back on them. Trust us. Nico insisted through the cacophony. Trust me. There's a network people who can protect you. I won't let anything happen. Gritting my teeth, I surveyed the battered warehouse, my heart racing. Of all the moments in my life, why would I finally feel the patchwork of hope form right here, against all odds? With no clear path laid out, the uncertainty wrapped around me thick and suffocating. Which way? I shouted over the noise, and in a moment of synchronized realization, Ryan and Nico pointed toward a sliver of light cutting through the chaos, a doorway barely illuminated, a potential escape route whispering to me like a siren's call. But just as I stepped forward, a figure burst through the collapsed wall, the heavy-set agent who had once been a shadow in my past. Anger etched across his face, his glare fixated on me as he raised a weapon with shaking hands, revealing a potent mix of rage and desperation. Leah. You're coming with me. Instinct kicked in. Without a moment's hesitation, I dived to the ground, a wave of panic surging through me as something within screamed for release. The room filled with the sound of gunfire, hard and unyielding. The world around me exploded into chaos, and I could feel the momentum of decisions crashing into one another, spiraling down a path I had yet to choose. And just like that, I lost sight of everyone as the smoke and mayhem consumed every corner I had fought to understand. Left with nothing but uncertainty and a new kind of despair, I closed my eyes, waiting for the moment my destiny would collide in a shocking revelation I could never imagine. The air was thick with the acrid smell of gunpowder and the whispers of ambiguity that tangled in my mind. I could feel the pulse of fear pounding in my ears, drowning out the chaos, yet a flicker of determination brightened the corners of my heart. That instinct to survive, to find answers amidst the wreckage, propelled me forward even as confusion wrapped around me like a suffocating shroud. I pressed myself against the cold concrete, shadows morphing in and out of focus as I tried to gather my bearings. The gunfire echoed in waves, a cruel rhythm that threatened to drown out my thoughts. I did not want to be lost in this tempest, not now when the truth lingered just out of reach. But the sound of voices shouting and the frantic footsteps of agents echoed closer, and I knew I had to move. I propped myself up against the wall, squinting through the haze for any sign of Ryan or Adam, praying that they hadn't been taken amidst the chaos. As my eyes adjusted, I spotted a glimpse of a familiar jacket flapping in the dust. It was Nico, his face grim but resolute, pulling an injured agent away from a fallen comrade. In that moment, a pang of sorrow hit me. This was the boy who once sat beside me in class, sharing secrets and laughter, now transformed into a soldier in this kind of war neither of us foresaw. Nico caught my gaze, and for a moment, even amidst the madness, a flicker of understanding passed between us. We had chosen to fight, then the battle roared back to life, and the clarity was interrupted. My heart leaped into my throat as I darted toward the fractured doorway Nico had pointed out. I squeezed through just as another explosion reverberated, debris showering around me. Beyond the threshold was a narrow alley, illuminated by the cold light of dusk giving way to twilight. I felt a pang of bitterness. How could something so beautiful exist amidst this horror? I steadied my breath and pressed on, desperate to reach the street beyond. I stumbled into the open air and was greeted by the chaos of the outside world, flashing lights, sirens blaring, and the cries of people caught in the fray. I scanned the scene feverishly, searching, longing for a sliver of hope. That's when I spotted them, Ryan and Adam, huddled behind an emergency vehicle, their bodies tense with concern as they scanned the danger that surrounded them. Leah. Adam's voice broke through the din, his relief palpable in the chaos. Over here, with newfound hope swelling within me, I sprinted toward them. As I drew closer, a sharp pain jarred through my abdomen, and I faltered slightly, clutching at the hem of my shirt. My fingers grazed over something wet. I had been grazed by a bullet or possibly shrapnel. Panic skittered in my chest, but I pushed through, willing my legs to move faster. Are you okay? Ryan's voice was laced with worry as he pulled me closer, his eyes scanning the small wound. Not now, I gasped, shaking my head. We need to get out of here. Before any plans could unfold, chaos erupted. Again, a screeching of tires and the hum of helicopters descending above us, the shadows of agents looming large against the ground, drowning out any thoughts of escape. My heart sank. We were cornered. There was a sudden rush as agents poured out of their vehicles, forming a barricade, and fear twisted tightly around my throat. They're closing in, I shouted, panic lacing my voice. Just when despair threatened to overwhelm me, a figure emerged from the car, a woman in a sleek black jacket, exuding both authority and calm in the midst of the storm. She raised her hands in a gesture that commanded the agents to stand down. Everyone, back. The crowd hesitated, caught between following orders and their instinct to protect. Who is she? Adam whispered, eyes narrowing as we watched intently. I don't know, I replied, the tension coiling tighter within me. But I sensed something, an aura of control and understanding radiating from her that held power beyond what the agents displayed. Leah, the woman called out, and my breath caught. I know you don't remember me, but I am Margot. I'm here to help. You can trust me. The moment hung heavy in the air, a fragile tether of hope dangling above the encroaching darkness. I ached to reach out, to trust her words, but the weight of skepticism bore down as memories flooded back. Deceit dressed as compassion, betrayal within the walls of what I'd always believed. Listen to me, Margot urged, her voice firm yet imbued with an empathy that sliced through the chaos. There's a facility not far from here, a safe house that can protect you. You need to come with me. Time is running out. Every instinct screamed at me to weigh the risks, to analyze the potential trap hidden within her suggestion. But before I could voice the doubt clinging to my thoughts, a crack rang out, cutting through the tension. Another gunshot reverberating in the air, just a heartbeat away. Move, Ryan shouted, grabbing my arm, his grip igniting a flicker of courage in me. I glanced at him, searching for reassurance, for a decision we could make together, and for a fraction of a moment, it felt as though we were teetering on the edge of something monumental, a choice that could either redefine or destroy us. Leah. The urgency in Margot's voice sliced through my chaotic thoughts. I hesitated, my mind a swirl of memories, transformations, and the echoes of a past I could not unearth. And there it occurred to me, I was standing at a precipice, a stack of possibilities wavering just above a chasm. The gunfire blared again, and I felt a jolt of determination spark within me, a desire not to be the girl forced into submission by fear. Let's go, I finally said, not knowing if the choice I made would be the key to my freedom or another page in a betrayal-laden story. But just as we turned to follow Margot, the ground shook, a bright flash swelled, and a realization tightened my chest like a vice. The warehouse had imploded in on itself, a plume of dust and debris signaling the end of all that was familiar and the beginning of an uncertain journey birthed from the wreckage. Now, every choice mattered. Now, the echo of uncertainty resonated louder than ever as we plunged into the unknown, driven by the remnants of hope hanging by a thread that refused to snap. I clenched my fists, ready to forge a new path, aware now that some truths lie buried yet to unearth. Just waiting for the right moment to decide my fate, and what I may uncover may be more than I'd ever anticipated. The world outside blurred into a chaotic whirlwind as we sprinted alongside Margot, my heart pounding in rhythm with our desperate escape. The remnants of the warehouse swallowed by dust were behind us now, yet the suffocating weight of my unresolved past lingered in the air, a warning of the reckoning to come. I glanced at Ryan and Adam, each step pulsating with fear and trepidation, knowing that this moment would define us all. I couldn't shake the image of my brother, his familiar features now marred by the passage of time and the burden of secrecy. The last time I had seen him, we were children. Now, we stood as mere strangers, cloaked in memories thick with betrayal. But could I allow that to cast a shadow on our shared blood? The uncertainty of loyalty wrapped around me, simmering under my skin, mingling with the urgent choice posed by Margot. As we stumbled through the streets, the dimming daylight cloaked our hurried flight in a veil of anonymity. My mind whirled, fighting against itself, wrestling with the embrace of fear and the flickering flame of hope. What would I find within the walls of this safe house? Would it be sanctuary, or another prison bolted shut by secrets? Stay close, Margot urged, her voice echoing through the din surrounding us. Those words felt like a lifeline thrown into stormy seas, a reminder to hold on, to keep moving forward even as terror threatened to drown me. Adrenaline pumped through my veins as the noise of sirens grew distant, merging into the background of my racing thoughts. We need to know more, I murmured, breaking the silence. Why are they after me? What do they want? Margot shot a quick glance back at me, her expression grave. They believe you hold information about a broader network of connections, an underground movement against their corruption. Those reports? They're more than just cute anecdotes. You've tapped into something that can rattle their entire operation. That's both a blessing and a curse. How? I only wrote about animals. I felt the words fall from my lips like a confession to the very uncertainty that had gripped my entire existence. Yes, but sometimes the ripple effect of innocence can unveil truths that remain hidden within dark places. Your observations were never just innocent stories, they painted a portrait of a system rife with deception. You've become a beacon, that's why they're hunting you. The weight of her words settled heavily in my chest, intertwining with the tempest of emotions crashing within me. Could it truly be that my innocent musings had morphed into a web of intrigue? My heart raced at the thought, laughter and light entwined with a darkness I couldn't fathom. What had I inadvertently unearthed? We reached the mouth of an alleyway, the shadows growing deeper as we ducked inside, the air thick with the smell of damp concrete. As I took a moment to catch my breath, a flicker of movement caught my eye, an unmistakable figure drifting at the far end of the alley. My heart seized. It was him, Ryan, over here. He called softly, urgency lacing his tone. I hesitated, the thick tension drawing tight around my throat. Could I trust him? Leah, Margot urged, her voice slicing through my hesitation. We don't have time, we need to keep moving. But I couldn't tear my gaze from Ryan. Memories flooded back, laughter shared between siblings, the warmth of family dinners, whispers of promises to always be there for each other. A part of me longed to run to him, to embrace the familiarity and shield myself from the storm that threatened to swallow us whole. Leah, listen, I can explain everything, Ryan continued, desperation lacing his voice. They're not who you think they are. I've been watching, and I know the truth. I can help uncover what's really happening. It's much larger than either of us can imagine. As he stepped forward, I saw a fear in his eyes, mirroring my own. We were both caught in a web neither of us had woven. Yet still, questions hung in the air, unspoken and binding. Margot's hand gripped my arm tightly. You cannot trust him, Leah. He's linked to their past. This may all have been orchestrated. Torn between the blood that bound me to my brother and the instinct to flee from deception, I felt the air constrict around me. Could he truly be a savior or merely a figment of my worries, a ghost of a past intertwined with shadows? No. Ryan's voice cut through, fierce and resolute. I'm here because I want to help. You have to believe me. He looked between us, determination sparking in his voice. They've set traps everywhere, but if we work together, we can dismantle this piece by piece. My heart thundered in my chest, wrestling against the odds and yearning to trust once again. Margot's gaze weighed heavily upon me, but the desire for family, for connection, was stronger than fear. Why should I trust you? The words spilled out, shaky but firm. You left. You chose distance. I had no choice, he replied, his voice cracking. None of us do. But I've spent every waking moment trying to understand why this family, why the secrets, why you were forced to carry that burden. The truth is out there, Leah, and together, we can unearth it. In the glow of fading light, I took a breath, feeling the boundaries of choice wrap tighter around me. Would I forge ahead into the heart of danger for answers? What must we do, Ryan? Before we could make another move, a blaring horn shattered the silence. Headlights appeared at the far end of the alley, dark silhouettes filling the space. Panic raced through my veins as I turned back to Ryan one final time. The vulnerability in his expression mirrored the urgency of the moment. Follow me, Margot urged, urging both of us to move. Without thinking, I grabbed Ryan's hand tightly, a closure of shared history despite the fear that echoed within. Adam was close behind us, his presence grounding yet fraught with tension. We dashed deeper into the covered embrace of the alley as the footsteps grew louder, each heart-stopping moment whizzing past like time was a cruel jester. The path twisted further into the city's shadows, turning corners steeped in uncertainty. But as we emerged on the other side, a small door nestled between two crumbling buildings. I caught a glimpse of something familiar in Ryan's eyes. A flicker of hope reflecting back at me, even among the chaos. We can do this together, he whispered, and I believed him. The world twisted yet again, as the shadows around us grew darker. Burdened with the weight of the journey we hadn't yet begun, I nodded, pulled towards possibility. In that moment, in our desperate struggle, I finally understood the journey was not just about survival. It was about defining who we could become amidst the ruin. We would weave our stories anew, stitching together the threads of love, loss, and purpose into something more profound. As we locked hands and stepped through the door into the warmth of the unknown, I felt the sharp razor of doubt dissipate. If only for just a moment. It was the first step toward unearthing our truth, a leap into a brighter tomorrow where hope dared to flourish in the face of despair. And in that fragile moment, as the door hinged shut against the chaos of the world outside, I whispered fiercely to myself, I won't let go of hope, not now, not ever. Because amid the uncertainty, I was learning the most important lesson of all. We could rise, united in each other, ready to face whatever awaited beyond the next horizon.